Here's a little history lesson for you about how to not launch a console. At E3 in 1995, Sega's then CEO Tom Kalinske announced the Saturn's price of $399, and to the surprise of everyone, the release date was that very day. The problem was that was a surprise to retailers too, who suddenly had an entire shipment of Sega Saturn showing up at their stores 4 months in advance. Sega's board had pressured Kalinske and the rest of the company to release the system early to get a jump on the PlayStation. The issue there is that Sega failed to release games in that 4-month gap outside of 2. So along came the PlayStation to just blow it out of the water. Now there are several other factors that contributed to the Saturn's poor release, but one of the most noticeable was the lack of a new, major Sonic the Hedgehog title for the system. Sonic team head Yuji Naka had wanted to move on to Nights into Dreams, and although an incredible game in its own right, Nights didn't quite resonate with audiences like Sonic did. There were a few Sonic games on the Saturn though. Sonic Jam, which was a port of the main Genesis titles, and a special hub world. Sonic 3D Blast, which was just a port of Sonic 3D Blast with new music and special stages. And finally, Sonic R. Sonic R is a strange case. In theory, a racing game based around Sonic the Hedgehog sounds like a great idea. It's a concept that's been visited several times in the series' history, whether as a main mechanic or a multiplayer mode. There's no real story to speak of behind Sonic R, and frankly there doesn't need to be. Pick your character, get to the end before everyone else, and win. Pretty easy to comprehend. What's not always easy to comprehend are Sonic R's visuals. I personally love the models in this game. There's just something endearing to low-poly Sonic and his friends running without any real special effects or the world being held together properly. And you know what? That's A-okay with me. The game suffers from a lot of pop-in though, as earlier 3D games were subject to. The level layouts can be really confusing to navigate, and a lot of this has to do with the textures of each level running together, creating a confusing mess of where to go when in small spaces and tight corridors. Also, the water. Look at it. It sucks. Sonic R is infamous for its soundtrack. Sonic games in general are known for some of the best video game music ever created, and Sonic R is special. With only 5 tracks to race on, there isn't a ton of music in Sonic R. What there is, though, is a lot of ill-fitting pop songs that feel like they belong in a dance club rather than a Sonic racing game. I'm sure you've probably heard these songs before, but just here. Each song teeters dangerously on being so bad it's good, to being just plain bad. The Sonic series is no stranger to having songs with lyrics playing as background music, especially in Sonic Adventure 2, but most of it was at least fitting in some capacity. Here it's just love and exercise music that's all over the place. And in that regard, it fits in with the gameplay itself. Sonic R is billed as a racing game, but it's not quite like Mario Kart or any racer before it. Every character has their own stats and handles differently from one another. Sonic is the fastest, but his turning is very poor. He also can't fly or glide, unlike Tails and Knuckles, who are both slower but handle better than Sonic does. Amy and Robotnik, meanwhile, can glide over water and have their own special abilities as well. The imbalance between characters is noticeably apparent. Knuckles is seemingly the best character in the game, as he handles far better than Sonic, as it's actually possible to turn with him, while also being faster than Tails. Bumping into walls and getting hung up on scenery is very easy to do in Sonic R, which is owed to the awkward and clunky controls. As expected, holding forward makes your character run forward, with left and right turning your character. The problem is that holding down makes your character duck. Yeah, this was super early with Sega, along with Sonic R developer Traveler's Tales, and they hadn't really toyed with Sonic in 3D much. And having to turn around isn't something they've considered, obviously. The thing is, you never need to duck in this game in spin dash, which is the only purpose ducking serves in the first place. So instead, the player has to slowly reorient themselves by turning the character in the direction that you want to go, which is a real problem when you're in a race. Probably the strangest part of Sonic R is the fact that there are only 5 courses to race on, while there are more than double that in unlockable characters. You'll be able to blow through the first 4 tracks that have been unlocked in no time, assuming you don't get hung up on anything. What's interesting though is the number of paths that all 5 stages in Sonic R offer. There's a lot of hidden secrets, such as 5 character coins to collect and unlock to race against a new character, or the Chaos Emeralds, which will unlock Super Sonic. While you have to finish in the top 3 for the character medals, Chaos Emeralds are only kept if you finish first. And that's where rings come into play. Rings are scattered throughout each course, just like a regular Sonic game, and they serve 2 purposes: unlocking doors and using the speed booster near the end of each course. Rings are converted automatically and boost the character forward. It's pretty self-explanatory. Gates require a certain amount of rings to get through and are typically hidden out of the way. Sometimes these gates contain shortcuts, other times they contain medals or Chaos Emeralds to grab. The multitude of unlockables and paths winds up giving Sonic R a decent amount of replay value to go back and grab everything. The question is, are you willing to sit through the awkward controls, the sometimes confusing course design, graphical quirks, and the bizarre soundtrack over and over again? And as harsh as I've been to this game, I'm more than willing to keep playing Sonic R. Maybe it's ignorance from having the game all these years. It could be the fact that I can 100% the whole thing in maybe half an hour or less. Or perhaps, just perhaps, this is a case of a game being so bad, it's good. Movies do this all the time, but you don't get that often, where a game is so bad it winds up being fantastic. But, you cry, the control. How can you enjoy a game you can't handle properly? Behold, shoulder buttons. Sonic R's manual calls using these drifting, but really, they just allow you to turn as the game was likely intended. Suddenly, Sonic handles just as good as anyone else. Zipping around corners is crazy easy, and you'll run circles around Amy and Robotnik. With that comes skill, and with that skill comes the ability to explore. You see, this confusing course design is trying to take after the Genesis game's own level design. Sonic is a game about speed, very much so, but speed becomes a reward as the game progresses. There's a lot of exploration involved, secrets to be found like special stages, extra lives, the works. When you've got the stages down pat, you'll constantly have that speed the game promotes, instead of the brief sections that you're given. Sonic R tries to replicate that too, with the hidden secrets and multiple paths to cross. Granted, this isn't the greatest type of game to add exploration and hidden secrets to, since you're in a race trying to outpace everybody, but it adds a level of challenge too, figuring out where everything is and grabbing it all quickly. Sonic R is a very flawed game. It's not one that everyone will love, but it's also not one that everyone's gonna hate either. If you're looking for a different racer than just about any other you've played, check out Sonic R. If you're looking for something that's polished and clean cut, stay away. Either way, Sonic R is a mess. A wonderful, beautiful mess that I'll keep playing for years to come.